Tai Chi is a wonderful form of exercise that's fun to learn, it's fun to do, and it provides your body with a multitude of health benefits. And it improves balance. It can help your immune system function more optimally. It can help you manage your stress and anxiety, and it can help keep your brain sharp. There's lots of things that Tai Chi can do for you. And we know that those benefits come from understanding and applying the underlying principles. It's not just based in the movements themselves. However, it is good to sometimes look at the movements themselves and see if we can improve them and thereby improve the benefits that we're getting from Tai Chi. So today we're going to look at two movements that are very similar: part the wild horse's mane and brush knee. In fact, when you first start with Tai Chi, sometimes these two movements can be a little confusing, which is actually good. That's part of that brain function, that executive functioning, separating out the two movements. But as you get better in your Tai Chi, sometimes the two movements just kind of meld together and we forget what we're really doing with each of the movements. So let's take them, kind of take them apart a little bit, and then start to apply those principles and see if we can actually improve each of these movements. So let's start with brush knee. And I'm going to move to the mirror here. If you bring your weight over to your right and you're holding the ball to the right, which means that right hand is high, the left hand is underneath. Just the mechanics of brush knee. You're going to step forward with that left, bringing about 60% of the weight onto that left, 40% remains on the right. You brush this left hand across and you bring the right hand out. So if you're holding the ball to the right, you step forward, the low hand stays low and the high hand stays high. This left hand stays in front of your body. You don't want to let it travel behind you. This right hand, this is in a curved mode. It's not a straight arm like this. You don't want to lock your joint. So as you come out with your brush knee, you're keeping your arms nice and soft and rounded. Remember, your hands are supposed to be soft as well. So brush knee is a very simple movement in terms of a martial arts application, understanding that you're hitting something, you're blocking something low and you're hitting something high. Let's think about the very basic of Chi walking. Now, how does that apply to brush knee? It is how you walk when you're moving forward with your brush knee. So let's just do some Chi walking just for a second. Bring your left foot forward, bring a little bit of weight onto that left, rock back, open it up just about 45 degrees. Bring all the weight onto that left. Let your right leg be completely empty and step forward with the right. Rocking forward, rocking back, open it up, bring the weight onto that right and step forward with the left. Now this whole idea of your rocking back and forth is you're working on your substantial and insubstantial, knowing which leg is substantial, which leg is insubstantial. So I'm going to give you a drill that I want you to do. You can do your Chi walking, stepping forward, rocking back. Now let all the water flow into that left. Let it become completely substantial. Step forward with the right. Rocking forward, rocking back, opening it up. Now let that right leg be completely substantial. Now that means that this left leg is empty, which means I have the choice. I can continue to step forward if I want to, or I can step to the side, or I can step to the back. So that's the drill that I want you to do sometimes with your Chi walking, is don't always go forward. At some point, as you feel that substantial and insubstantial, think, I'm completely balanced. I actually can step backwards if I want to. I can step to the side. Just make it a random choice so that you're not falling forward. The same thing applies to your brush knee as you're walking forward. Think about holding that ball to the right. Brush knee left, you're rocking back. You're opening up, holding that ball, bringing the weight all the way onto that left, and stop. Make the choice to step forward with that brush knee. Now rocking back, bringing all the weight onto that right. Let that left leg be completely empty, and think about the choice of stepping forward. Rocking back. One more. Stepping forward and brush knee. Same thing applies to part the wild horse's mane. Like I said, they're very similar movements. Let's go over the mechanics of part the wild horse's mane. If you're holding the ball to the right, stepping out left, again, it's about 60%, 40%. This bottom hand now comes up as the top hand goes down. So holding that ball to the right, stepping out, part the wild horse's mane. With part the wild horse's mane, just like with brush knee, you want to make sure that your arms are nice and round, that you're not overextending. You don't want to let this back hand come behind you. You want to let it be in front of you. With part the wild horse's mane, as well with all of the movements, with the martial arts application, there is a Goldilocks position for it. If you come like this with your part the wild horse's mane, you're way too tight. This is too tight of an angle, and it's a very weak motion. If you come out and you extend, this is also a very weak motion because you're totally off balance. There is a Goldilocks position of how far that arm is out away from you so that it's the most powerful for that martial arts application. The same thing applies with your substantial and insubstantial. Stepping forward, part the wild horse's mane, rocking back, let all that weight come onto your left, pause. Now choose to step forward, part the wild horse's mane. Your substantial and insubstantial, really keying in with that movement is going to help you improve your balance tremendously. It's not just because you're moving slowly, it's because you understand where your weight is. Now with both of those movements, another of the underlying principles, being rooted and grounded, really needs to be looked at as you're moving. Think about, again, your part the wild horse's mane. If you step out in a very narrow stance, if I'm going to step towards the camera here and I step in a narrow stance, I am not stable. Okay? I have to step out on my railroad tracks. There's a channel here. There's one channel on my right, there's one on my left. I have to step out with a wide enough channel that I am stable. I also need to make sure that I'm not straight with my legs. You see, if I step out and I'm just stiff-legged, that's not stable at all. You might think that that's a good column, but it's not. You need to actually lower that center of gravity and think about really feeling the earth. So let's practice that for a second with Part the Wild Horse's Mane. Stepping out, making sure, take a look at your stance. Take the opportunity to lower that center of gravity and feel how much more stable that motion is. Rock back. Don't forget your substantial and insubstantial. Coming forward. Now stepping out on the other side of that channel. Part the wild horse's mane. One more. Stepping out. Part the wild horse's mane. Being rooted and grounded in each of those movements makes it a more effective martial arts application. If we go back to brush knee, remember when I said you're blocking something low and you're hitting something at the same time. If you're not rooted and grounded, you're easily blocked over, right? If I do this and I try to hit somebody, all they have to do is pull my hand and I'm on my face. If, however, I am rooted and grounded, lowering my center of gravity, making sure I have that energy from the ground coming up into my opponent, making sure that I'm stable even as I'm trying to express my energy into my opponent. Being rooted and grounded also means, on another level, understanding why you're doing what you're doing. Understanding that you are blocking something low and that you are coming against an opponent. As you do your Tai Chi, you need to understand these movements in that sense, because then you're going to really want to develop that balance and you're going to understand the movements in a much deeper way. Rotation, in terms of the martial arts application, in terms of all of the movements, is critical. Rotation is power in any sport, right? Think about baseball, think about tennis, think about golf. Rotation is power. And by utilizing rotation, you're actually allowing your body to be more powerful in a more relaxed state. So we need to work on our rotation with these movements. There's only so much power if I step out like this and brush knee, or if I step out and part the wild horse's mane. I'm just using my arms. I'm coming forward a little bit with my weight, but there's really no power in that. So we have to develop brush knee and part the wild horse's mane with rotation. So holding the ball to the right, do that with me. And that means your left shoulder is pointed more towards your opponent. Your body is kind of on a diagonal. Your torso is facing on the diagonal. When you step out, you rotate into this movement. So holding the ball to the right, have that left shoulder to the front, step out, rotate. See how that rotation just kind of allows my hands to go into the right place. If I rock back, this is where that rotation happens now as I gather that energy. Now my right shoulder is to the mirror and I rotate into this movement. Part of that rotation is incorporating the twist step, letting your feet be rooted and grounded, yes, but fluid all at the same time. So if we go back to part the wild horse's mane, stepping out, rotate into that motion. Now as I rock back, Notice I open up that left foot, and then my right foot turns so that my right shoulder is now to the front. That allows me to utilize rotation. And notice that that back foot also turns as I turn into that rotation. Rock back. I open up, let my left shoulder come to the mirror now, and my right foot turns, and then I can step out with rotation. So let's doing it towards, we'll do it just towards the mirror. Now that left and right's not going to be the same, but if I am holding this ball to this side, my opposite shoulder is to the front. I'm going to do brush knee now. Step out, brush knee. Rocking back. I do that twist step, so now both of my feet are twisted and this opposite shoulder is to the front. I can step out and use rotation. Notice how that back foot turns, and I'm using my hips for that power. And this is where it all comes in together with moving from the Dantian. Your Dantian is the leader of your movement. This is the powerhouse. If I were to just punch like this, there's no power. But if I use that energy from the ground, let it come up in through the transfer box of that Dantian, and I use the power, throwing it out, letting it be expressed through my fist, then I have so much more power. Same thing with your brush knee and your part the wild horse's mane. Holding that ball to the right now. Think about moving from the Dantian, rotate into that brush knee. Now watch this as you rock back, thinking about your substantial and insubstantial, thinking about your rotation. Notice my zipper here. Think about that as my Dantian. My Dantian now comes over my base of support. My center of mass over my base of support makes me more balanced. That allows me to gather that energy, step forward, and rotate again. So rotation is actually improving that balance in that it's helping me bring that Dantian over that base of support and using that motion through my hips provides the power of the movement. All of these underlying principles start to come together. And if you think about moving from the Dantian as the ruler, helping it be your powerhouse, think of how it helps you with your substantial and insubstantial. It's also helping you keep your columns intact as well. As you do your part the wild horse's mane, you're keeping your shoulders in harmony with your hips. You're not overreaching. If you're doing this, you're not moving from here, you're moving from here. Whereas if you move from the Dantian, that allows you to keep those shoulders in harmony with your hips, keeping you balanced, keeping you rooted and grounded. So there's a couple more underlying principles that are kind of come together with these movements. And one of them is just the idea of your breathing with your movements. Think about part the wild horse's mane. As you hold that ball, you're gathering energy, breathing in. And then as you step forward, rotating into it, you're breathing out, you're releasing that energy. So your breath and the energy flow coordinate. Breathing in, breathing out. Think about that substantial and insubstantial. Breathing in, breathing out. breath also helps with the relaxation, just like the rotation helps with your relaxation in your movements. It also helps with the power of the movements. If you're holding your breath, you can't be powerful. You have to utilize that oxygen throughout your body to be powerful against an opponent. Breathing in as you gather the energy, breathing out as you release. And these all flow together into keeping the motion continually moving. And that is one of the underlying principles of Tai Chi, right? We don't do brush knee, brush knee, brush knee, right? It's not a start and stop. We have to keep it flowing continuously like water. So I'm going to step back this way. Let's do brush knee together first and try to put this all together. Taking a nice deep breath in, bringing that left shoulder forward, thinking about your channel as you step out, lowering your center of gravity, breathing out, then rocking back, using that twist step, rotating, bring that Dantian over your base of support, then you can step forward, brush knee. Keeping that motion going now, as much as you can, think about all of these principles and let that motion happen and continuously move using the breath, breathing in, breathing out, feeling your weight shift, feeling that rotation, keeping your eye on your opponent. One more. Let's do it with part the wild horse's mane now. Take a good deep breath in, lower that center of gravity, keep yourself rooted and grounded. Part the wild horse's mane. You see how that rotation, you complete this movement here, but that rotation keeps you going in a circle. Tai Chi is really all about circular motion. Part the wild horse's mane. Thinking about how you are choosing to step forward, stepping into a good stance. Breathing in, breathing out, and using the power of that rotation and that breath against your opponent, and breathing out. So those two movements, just practicing those two movements, can be very powerful in helping you improve your overall form. So let's do that form together. And the very first part of it is where we do our brush knee and our part the wild horse's mane. So it'll get you in that right mindset. Don't lose that idea of continuous motion, moving from the Dantian, thinking about your rotation, being rooted and grounded, and allowing your breathing to help you with all of these things.